October 19, 2025, in under 8 minutes, 4 thieves broke into one of the most secure museums on earth and walked out with some of France's most precious crown jewels. Actually, $102 million worth. I'm breaking down exactly what happened, who was arrested, and what kind of time they're facing under French law. So they planned this very well with inside help, for sure. What they could do, there's 3 ways to do it. They could break them all up, sell the gold, sell the diamonds.
Law enforcement are still trying to find the people responsible for stealing some priceless royal jewels from the Louvre Museum in Paris, worth over $100 million. So I want to bring in former jewel thief.
My name is Larry Lawton. I stole over $15 million in diamonds. I was the biggest jewel robber in America. Then I got caught.
A lot of people don't know this, but 10 days before the heist, on October 10th, these thieves rented a basket lift using a fake job order and intimidation. This truck becomes the key to the whole operation. They need this to get up there. Not thinking this thing through long enough, I think, but that's how it really started. Then on October 19th, 2025, 4 men came up 8 minutes after the Louvre was open on a Sunday and used this lift. It was like a furniture lift, they call it, something like that. It's like a lift to work on things. And they used that lift to get up to the 2nd level, which is right in the Apollo Theater. They go through with hand grinders, like just grinders you'd get at a Home Depot or at a Lowe's. They're grinders, they're handheld, and they're electric. They go through the main glass, get into the main gallery. That's 2 of them. Now there's 4 that went there, 2 are down below. These 2 go in. Now, inside the Louvre, where the jewels are held, there are cases, and they gotta grind through these cases. Now remember, this whole operation from start to finish was 8 minutes. They weren't in the actual Apollo Theater probably 4 minutes. Now, there were guards there, but the guards don't have guns. And one guy started holding them off with a grinder. That's what it was. That, I guess they're told, like a bank teller, just give them the money, don't do anything overt in case anybody gets hurt. And I understand that part of the Louvre personally. There's a lot of people in there, and it was done while it was opened. So they go in there. They ended up getting 9 pieces of the French crown jewels, which is a whole bunch of stuff. I'll go into that in a minute. They end up getting out, going down the lift. They drop a ton of stuff. They drop a glove. They drop a radio. They drop a crown jewel, probably worth $20 million. They drop it. Believe that or not, I couldn't believe it. They end up dropping that, and they ended up getting away on motorcycles. Now, when they got away, now what? Okay, they got away. Nobody knows. They closed the Louvre down. They didn't know if it was a terrorist strike or something of that nature. They close it down. They figure out what went wrong. And here I'm going to go and tell you exactly what went wrong and what went right, I guess, for the robbers, if you want to call that. These are not professionals, and that is even from the French prosecutors, I guess I'll call them, for America's sake. They said they're petty thieves, and I said that right from the beginning. These weren't professionals. Now, October 19th, which is a Sunday, the investigation starts. Boom. They closed the Louvre that day. It's closed on a Monday. I think they reopened on Wednesday. Well, they did their investigation. They had a treasure trove of evidence. DNA, equipment, a radio, a glove these guys dropped, a vest that they wore because they acted as construction workers. They have all of this stuff with DNA, obviously. Even a helmet. Now, you know, you put a helmet on, you know there's going to be DNA, hair, or whatever in there. So they have a bunch of evidence. Just 6 days after the heist, on October 25th, they arrest 2 guys. Let's jump into who they got, as much as we know. The first suspect is a 34-year-old Algerian male. He tried to flee France, we know that. He worked as a delivery driver and garbage collector is what he worked at. And his DNA was found on the getaway scooter. These guys didn't do anything right. He's facing organized crime, theft, and the conspiracy. Now, in French law, and I did some research, they also can't stack it. They can't put the same kind of elements of the crime on all of those and just stack them and make them both. These guys are all facing 15 years in prison. which is not bad if they got away with $102 million. I'll tell you that. Suspect 2, 39-year-old motocross personality is what they're calling him. 15 prior convictions, theft, even a jewelry robbery in 2015, I think it was, and other crimes like that. They had DNA on tools and the glass case, so they know he was the one that went into the Louvre and used the grinder because they have DNA right there. No way they could have put DNA on there unless it was his, obviously. And he's a former museum security guard. Did you hear what I just said, everybody? Former museum security guard. Now, they're not saying if it was the Louvre, but it was a museum. So he has a great idea of how security works, how tough they are, and stuff like that. I told you there was some kind of inside element. Not that it was a person inside giving information. Could have been a girlfriend, I said. Could have been a guy who worked there as a security guard or worked at a place, had a buddy that worked at the Louvre since they were both security guards. There's your inside element. That's the one, and that's why he went in. Think of it that way. He worked as a security guard. And he's facing the same charges as the other guy, the theft by an organized gang and also conspiracy. That's those guys. Suspect number 3, 11 prior convictions, 10 of theft. They're pretty much petty thefts, or I wouldn't say petty thefts. They don't come out, but they do say thefts. And I'll tell you, they're charging one guy, and they couldn't take him to trial, and I'll get into that because of all the publicity around this case. And they charged him for damaging a door and a mirror in a jail that he was waiting on a prior case. He was supposed to go to trial for this. I guess that's the way the French go. Well, suspect number 3 is a 37-year-old man, 11 prior convictions, and they found DNA in the lift truck. Again, I'm going to get into all the mistakes they made, and I'm going to list those guys, too. This guy denies all involvement. The second guy, the motocross guy, admitted some stuff, but not enough. So he might have said, yeah, okay, it's my DNA, now what? I don't know anything else. I don't know what he said, but obviously he hasn't given up the loot, that's for sure. And this guy just denies everything. This guy's a convict, this 37-year-old man. And suspect number 4 is a 38-year-old female, a woman. And she's the partner of the guy who just shut his mouth, and 37-year-old guy they arrested as well. That's his partner. They have kids together. And DNA was possibly from a secondary transfer, as I told you how that could happen. Because they don't believe at all, because they didn't charge her, that she was at the scene at all. And all they charge her, they call it in France is complicity. Being complicit in a crime, we call it conspiracy. That's just the difference what they do. Let's look at the charges and the maximum sentence in France. Theft in an organized gang. The penalty is up to 15 years. Up to 15 years in prison. And it's used when multiple criminals plan and execute a theft just like this. Not that you're organized crime. And I said it from the beginning. I really believe these were 4 guys, got together. One was the guard. Hey, we don't got money. Let's rob this. They didn't have their getaway too planned well. We know that. And it applies here because of planning, the equipment, the roles, and the coordination. They had to have somebody had to be the leader of this group. And I'm actually suspecting, personally, the 37-year-old right now. That's my guess. We'll see how that fares out. And, okay, criminal conspiracy or complicity, criminal conspiracy, and that's penalties of up to 10 to 15 years as well, depending on the classification. This is for preparing a crime with a prison penalty of 5+ years. So you can't plan a crime to rob pizza because it's not a crime that carries any time, really. So this one carries a lot of time, so they can put in a conspiracy, and that's what they charge the woman with. And here's a good one. Staking the charges. Let me explain what that is. France does not simply add max plus max. You can't take a charge and stack them. That's what they're calling stacking and charges. You can't stack the charges. You can't do that. Judges consider overlap of facts. So it's the same crime. It's like a bank robber who does the same crime and he gets it. They call it one crime. and then they'll now they do in the United States, they have what they call enhancements. So for a number of how much money was stolen, how many places were robbed, they all enhancements, but it's not a specific charge for each one and going to trial on each one. They don't do that. But practically they're facing serious multiple years. Now, you know, when they tell me they're facing serious multiple years, in my eyes, listen, I was in prison with guys never getting out, 50 years max, life. 15 years for 102 million, and I don't think they would do the 15. I don't know how that law works. I couldn't find that. I'm going to talk about bail here in a minute. They don't call it bail in France, but I'm going to talk about that as well. And I understand the law is a little bit better. The lawyers, of course, haven't come forward. These guys have so far pretty much shut up. Everybody has. And they can't find the jewels. I still believe, I do believe, they are together and they're out there. Maybe one piece was ripped up, but I don't believe all of them were. That's just my guess. That's just an opinion. Okay, in France, you know, how long can they hold these guys without taking them to trial? Like in the United States, we have a speedy trial law, and they have to take the person to jail within 180 days. Speedy trial has to happen. In France, they don't have that. They can actually hold these guys up to 4 years. I think that'll be rare. But what happens there, they have a specific judge that looks at the detention of what's going on. You know, their hearing and how long they're in. So what they do, and here's what they're locked up. Anytime an international flight risk, obviously they're a flight risk. One guy's at the airport, obviously, and he's a flight risk. He's not getting away. We have the same thing in the United States if you're a flight risk. There's only two ways you can't get bail in the United States, and that is if you're a threat to the community or you're a flight risk. It's kind of the same way, but they have a judge that handles just bail, and he's the one that determines if they're in there long enough, what's the conditions. We don't know. I don't know, and I'm going to look into that one too. But these are serious charges, up to 15 years in prison in France anyway. They are repeat offenders, and that's another thing that holds them back from bail or being held in detention. Again, it's not bail. A risk of collusion. You know, they let them all out. Now they get together with their stories and say, okay, where's the jewels? What we're going to do? That's pretty much their big one right there. And destroying remaining evidence. And same thing. Okay, we know what we charged with or what they got us for, and we're on bail. Let's try to get this. Let's coordinate our stories. Let's do everything. Obviously, they're not going to let that happen. And there is ways they can give bail, if you want to call it bail. I'm just calling it bail for Americans' sake. If they gave him any kind of release, in which I think the girl will get some kind of relief. I don't think the girl is going to be in prison as long as the guys, even before trial. I just don't, unless they think she knows so much more, or she's even part of it. But they didn't charge her that way. They just charged her with the conspiracy or complicity, collusion on this whole case. And that's it. It's like me, you, and a bunch of guys all hanging out and having a beer and saying we're going to rob them. That's literally, if I robbed it the next day, you're in on a conspiracy. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? Nuts. Okay, typically in France, the pre-trial limit is 1 year. 1 year incarcerated. Now, right now in the United States, we have, Young Doug or somebody in Florida, South Florida, in there for 5-6 years straight without I think he had two mistrials or hung juries, and he's still in jail, which blows me away. They gave one of those guys. That's another case. So I won't even talk about that case. But here it's 1 year after your indictment. You got 1 year after indictment. And now that can be extended at 6 month increments by that special judge. That's how France works, the special judge. And for organized gang cases, detentions can legally reach years before it is justified. Listen, if they don't have anything in a year, I think they're going to extend these guys for whatever reason. But why don't you have? You either have it or you don't at that point. What are you waiting for? Just going to keep extending them? I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. All right, where do we stand with these guys now? What's going on? Right now, there is 8 crown jewel pieces are still missing. They don't have them. So that's their concern. obviously. Where are these? They want these jewels back bad, and I don't blame them, obviously. They have listed the jewels on Interpol's internationally. That means that's an artifact from a country. No matter who has it, it has to come back to that country. You'll see that happen in artwork that was stolen years and years and years ago and found, and then another country claims it because they put it on that list for, I guess they did that in The Hague when they set up world laws and stuff of that nature. And police still believe, and so do I, there's one more suspect out there, and possibly, I guess you're going to call him a fence. A fence is a person who moves stolen property. So they're worried about that person. Yes, they're threatening that person. They're threatening the whole communities. They went on the news and said all this stuff that if you get caught with this, you're going to get 15 years and all this. I don't buy that either. But it is something that they're really concerned about. And it is hot to move. Obviously, once you break this stuff down, you can move it. That's the easy part. This robbery was bold, in your face, pretty well timed in the morning and the day and everything else like that. But they made their mistakes on the getaway and the non-coordination of how to get away. Let me give you a couple ideas of what happened, in my opinion. And here's a list. Let's call it a list. Here's a couple of things they did really bad. You planned motorcycles to get away. What were you going to do with all the equipment you had? You had the grinders. You're going to have bags of jewelry at this point. You're going to have anything else you brought with you. You have that lift. They tried to light the lift on fire. Now, that lift was robbed, they know now, October 10th, from a rental place not far, actually 4 or 5 miles from the Louvre. They're going to figure that out, and they did figure that out. That's part of it as well, and I'm sure they're looking into that even deeper. So what were you going to do with it? Try to put it on fire? You don't think they were going to still know where it came from? You're not going to burn the serial numbers off of a piece of steel from an engine or something like that. So that was a pretty bad move. Secondly, dropping all the stuff. Didn't even give themselves time. They were literally caught within 48 hours. They knew who these people were, at least the ones who dropped the DNA or had DNA on there. So that was a big mistake, very big mistake. Getting in the place, doing it without weapons, no firearms at all, not even a knife, pretty good. Holding them off, pretty good. And we're going to get into that security next. And also getting back down and getting away. Again, why motorcycles? If you're going to use motorcycles, should have you had a knapsack on your back and you could put your grinder in it, put jewels in it, do something. Obviously, one guy was a motocross guy, so he knows that. What were you going to do with it? Stick it between your legs on a motorcycle going through traffic if you had to run? It didn't make any sense to me at that point. And then leaving all the equipment. Now, if you had a fire and everything's in a fire, that's a whole different animal. Then the vest that they dropped, the gloves that they dropped, whatever they drop, at least is going to get rid of DNA, you would think, most of it. And they would have had more time. That's number one. Number two, number one, we're at whatever number. Another big mistake they made. Why in the world were these guys not out of the country? I don't get it. That is the biggest thing I saw that showed me that these guys did not know what they were doing. They had an opportunity. They took it. Maybe that security guard knew another security guard, said, hey, listen, man, we can do this thing. I know how security works in museums. You know, maybe he worked temporarily in the Louvre. I don't know. We're going to come out with that. Now, that guy right there is your inside guy telling you everything about it. Oh, they don't have any special glass. Listen, for what happened here, I'm blaming the Louvre more than the criminals. Yes, we have to blame the criminals. We all know that, guys. The criminals are who they are. They're criminals. They did what they did. I get it. Opportunity. Total opportunity crime. Planned well in the beginning to get in and get them out. But after that, it was you're done. Now, you know, I don't even mind if that happened. I say, okay, let's say it was Larry Lawton who did this crime. Larry says, okay, there's no way I can get away without leaving the lift or something, and I don't care if they know who I am. Before they can even pick up what I dropped, I would have been on a plane or across a border and getting to a country that either has no extradition or very hard to find me. You know, you got to blend in and you got to get out of there. Now, okay, they know who I am. I'm out of the country. I'm going to a country that does, and there's a lot of countries that don't have extradition to certain countries. And you're gone. Now, you got a lot of money. You got a lot of jewels. If you did it right in the place you were, you left it to the right person, you did something, somebody had enough money to help you get out of the country. Maybe you suitcased, and we all know what that is hiding something in your rectum. You suitcased some diamonds, took it apart real quick. They should have been out of that country before that day's end. But before the end of the day, they should have been out of the country, every one of them. You're not going to go blend into the community after the records that these guys had. They had to know that. The ones who didn't have a record, the one guy had the guy going to the Algerian guy, the first guy caught at the airport, at Charles de Gaulle Airport, he had minor traffic stuff and nothing major. The other guys had long records. The two guys had 11 convictions and 15 convictions of crimes and theft and stuff of that nature. And then the girl, I don't know how she got pulled into it. Obviously, she is either the husband or the partner of that one guy, and they have kids together. So I'm looking at this whole case saying, okay, where's the mess ups? We know what they did and what they got away with. I love it. Hate to say it. Whenever something like this happens, I don't even mean I love it, guys. I appreciate a good score. I guess, what could you tell? I mean, I think everybody does who watches this. You think, oh, whoa, how'd they do it? Whatever I could have did it. You know, what would you do? Here's a big mistake in this whole thing. It was the Louvre. The Louvre Museum itself, they were in no kind of immediacy for security in that place. That obviously didn't happen in a day or even a month or even a year. It's been going on for years. You know, they have things in museums like this that they have a piece of glass and the jewels are in there. And if you break that glass or something happens with that outer thing, it drops. The bottom opens and it goes into a secure safe. Can't touch it. Welded to the ground. Boom, drop, can't touch him. Can't touch him. Saves your crown jewels of your country. Guards. I know it's Europe, but not an armed guard to confront these guys with no weapons. How about multiple? How about other ways of securing the facility? Maybe having gates that come down automatically. When a glass is broken, gates come down, right? Over the windows, over this. They can secure it if they want. That's another thing they could have did. Cameras. They tell, oh, it's an old building. It's got all of this footage. You know, it's 190,000, I think 190,000 meters or square feet, whatever the whole building size is. Don't give me that shit. Cameras are cheap. I have 10 cameras around my property and stuff. So, not 10, but I have a lot of cameras. Why don't they have cameras everywhere? They have wireless cameras. You can put a hole in a wall. The building can go do that. They do it with whatever. They got electric in there and whatever. Don't tell me about the buildings from 1700 they didn't have it. Well, they put it, didn't they? My point is they could have had security, and cameras are so cheap. When I hear people say, oh, they didn't have why in the world in 2025 don't they have cameras where you have hundreds of millions of dollars of artwork and jewelry and stuff in a museum? It's crazy to even think like that. They don't have cameras. They could have taken the jewels, and this is just a basic security move. You take your most expensive, or especially the crown jewels of your country, and where do you put them? You put them in a room that's more in the center of the whole entire facility. Why do you think casinos have the cash cage in the middle of the casino? So you have to go through the casino to try to rob it. It's not near an exit door. It's not near the front door. It's not any way you can get in and out that quick. They have it in the middle of the casino. The same reason the Louvre should have had these jewels, not near a window that goes right out to the outside. That would have been, I mean, that's just just not thinking security minded. And, they say the head of security or the head of the Louvre tendered their resignation to the minister, and he refused it. What is this, some French bullshit? What is this, some French, we're nice guys? No, you fucked up. Period. The Louvre fucked up. Say it as it is. I can't help that. And because of that, they lost the crown jewels of their country. This is worth more than $102 million. You're talking about pieces from Napoleon's wife and all this stuff that's way, way back. And you lose it? You're entrusted with these things, and you, in the security of that museum, totally failed your job. You not only failed your job, it was incompetent. I don't know what you did with your time and what security measures you did put in place since you've been there. The head of security at the Louvre, one of them, came there in 2021 and said, my priority is security. You failed. Louvre, you failed. Even the outside of that facility. How can a truck drive right up to the window? You don't have a barrier? You don't have cameras even out there looking at that? I don't get it. You should have had cameras, one facing the buildings, facing outward, seeing people come. Could have live cameras. You could have one guy in a booth. I don't know what kind of security they had inside. Obviously, not enough. That would have triggered alarm. As a security guy now, and I look at these things, I say, this is just bad planning and bad execution, or bad, I don't know. How doesn't the minister accept the resignation? Accept the resignation? Should have been fired. Think about that. They have lasers. Listen, when my dad, God forbid he's passed, my dad, he had Alzheimer's and he would wander. So we buy this laser. It's a little thing. You buy it in Home Depot. And it's a laser. You can't see it. It goes right across an area. If anything breaks that laser, a piercing alarm goes off. Well, they have a lot better technology today, and that was back in 2009. Today, they have a lot better technology, and you could have had lasers. Anything breaks that plane, at least an alarm or a light goes off in a security booth, and they can get on there and look and say, oh, we get breached. Who's these guys? Does anybody have a permit to come in here? No permits, no nothing. They had zero proactive planning for this museum. And what really is disturbing is they had 4 robberies of museums in France in the last 2 months. Think of that, people. Boggles my mind. It really does. And that's the problems they have here. So the Louvre heist was not done by professional criminals, because if it was me, one, I wouldn't be in jail right now. If I was, it'd have been by a fluke of some crazy thing. I wouldn't even know, because I would have had the planned exit strategy, how to get rid of the diamonds and everything else. I give them credit. They got balls. I told you, it takes 2 things to do a big robbery like this: brains and balls. They had one, and it wasn't brains. So they give them kudos for execution of this. But I'm really going to blame the Louvre for lack of security to make this happen, or let this happen. And that's how I'm looking at it. I'm going to keep you updated on this case, because there's a lot going on. And I want to see how it pans out, and if they do get their jewels back. Still think they got a shot. Take care, everybody. Be safe. Stay strong. See you next video.